Hello, thank you for joining me today. Before we get started, I'd like to invite you to get comfortable. Grab yourself a drink or a snack. Make sure you have a piece of paper and a pen. Perhaps you might use your iPad to take notes or your phone, because what I'm going to share with you are some juicy nuggets that will change your life. So, let's get started. Hello, I'm Lia Jones, and I am a pediatric speech-language pathologist. And today we're going to talk about how to become empowered to win. Our children are triumphant. So this talk is for you if you have a child that has an articulation difference. Perhaps they don't say their sounds correctly. This talk is for you if you're feeling overwhelmed or outnumbered by your child's educational team. This talk is for you if you need help finding resources to help your child be successful. This talk is for you if you need to get your emotions in check. It is certainly challenging when you first discover that your child is developing differently from other children. And this talk is for you if you are feeling bullied or outnumbered by school professionals. So let me just tell you a little bit more about that. I can remember a time when I sat on an educational team and a family came in for their child's IEP meeting. The family was extremely frustrated. The mother was crying, the father was angry, and all they wanted was to have their child review some work that he was not understanding at school. And I knew that I could help this child. I knew that I could. And I didn't know what was going to happen if I raised my hand and volunteered my support. But the line was drawn in the sand, and so I raised my hand and I volunteered to offer my support to help this child with what he was struggling with. And I knew as soon as I said anything that I was going to be in a lot of trouble with my superiors. So the family left the meeting feeling satisfied, and as I thought, I was in trouble with my superiors. And I decided right there and then that I needed to leave that job and work for myself so that I could help children best and not be confined by a school system that had different views. So, as I said before, I am a speech therapist, and I often work on vocabulary skills with my students. So I like knowing what words mean. So let's talk about what the first word in this talk means, and that word is empowered. And empowered means to have authority or power over something. So that's a very powerful word, to have authority or power over something. And the next word we're going to talk about is the word win. And to find out what that means, that word means to be successful or victorious over a conflict. To be successful or victorious over a conflict. And now we're going to talk about my favorite word. My favorite word is believe. And that means to accept something as true. So let me tell you a little story about the word believe. When I worked in a public school, often the kindergarteners and first graders would arrive to my speech room and say to me, "I can't say that sound." And I knew that I could help them, but I could only help them if they fully believed in themselves. And at that time, I had a paperweight in the shape of a rock. And the word believe was carved into that rock. And I would bring that rock to my therapy table, and I can remember their hands would hold onto that rock so tightly as if they were trying to pull the belief out of that rock. So sometimes before a therapy session, I would say to them, "Do you need the rock today?" And then I would get it for them. And sometimes I would just be their rock because I knew that they had developed belief in themselves because they were with me. So not only am I a speech therapist, I'm also a mom. I'm the mom of a unique child. Actually, I have two children, and it's my younger son that had services. He had services from the age of 18 months until 18 years old. So when I first discovered that he was different, he was around 9 months old, and at that time, my older son and I loved talking about dinosaurs and the time period that they lived in. And as you can imagine or know, dinosaurs' names are very long and have lots of syllables, and the time periods when they lived in were also very long and had lots of syllables. So my younger son really just couldn't get into the conversations that we were having. And he didn't develop any new words from the ages of 9 months until 18 months old. And I can remember when he first started to develop words, he started to develop them unusually. So instead of calling me mommy, he would call me ma. And instead of calling his father daddy, he would call him ada. And it took me even a while to realize that he was even referring to me because I had never had anyone call me ma. So I was very concerned about him. So I can remember actually going to my supervisor and asking if she would send the evaluation team to my house. And so she did, and my son did qualify for speech therapy. But as some of you might be aware or have experienced this, there were no speech therapists available. The closest one was completely booked. And so I decided to contact her and to barter time with her. So I offered to take a few students off of her caseload to free her up to work with my son. Now, some of you might be wondering, why didn't I just work with my own son? I was a speech therapist at that time and had been for about 12 years. But I also knew that I had counseled many, many families and reminded them that it's important for them to stay in the role of parents because that is an important job. And I knew that I needed to do the same thing for my son, to stay in the role of being his mother. So my child got speech therapy and he began to develop language and he began calling me mommy, which was wonderful. And then when he turned around 3, I had another story to tell that reminded me that he was unique. So when he was 3, we lived in a home where the kitchen overlooked the porch, and I had a porch swing on that porch. And this was a hot summer day, and I remember my son was on the porch swing, but he wasn't swinging. In fact, he was spinning. He was winding the swing up as tightly as it would go, and then unwinding it as fast as it would go, and then winding it up in the opposite direction as tightly as it would go, and then unwinding it again. And I was washing dishes, but I decided to take note of the time. And I realized he had been spinning for 15 minutes. And when he finally came off the swing, he walked a straight line to me. And I said, "Son, aren't you dizzy?" And he looked at me and said, "No, Mommy, spinning is fun." And I thought to myself, well, what kind of a job is this kid going to get when he grows up? Is he going to be an astronaut or something? Who can spin for 15 minutes continuously and not feel dizzy at all? Now, by this time, I had changed jobs, and I was now working at a sensory integration clinic. And I went to my coworkers, and I told them this story, and they suggested that my son come in for an OTSI evaluation, occupational therapy with sensory integration evaluation. and he again qualified for that service. And he needed an intense therapy regimen to help him overcome that difference and to help his system normalize. So that's a little bit about my children, my son. Well, let me tell you a little bit more about me. When I was a child, I also had speech therapy. I had difficulty saying my S's and my TH's. I loved going to speech therapy. I also had difficulty reading. And luckily, my mother was a teacher, and she was the one who taught me how to read. And she was also the one that helped me practice my sounds every day after school. As a young child, I can also remember I had difficulty understanding the punchlines and jokes. I had difficulty understanding what people's faces meant. I wasn't sure what expressions meant, if they were happy or angry or sad or embarrassed. I just couldn't read facial expressions. So you can imagine that as a child who couldn't read facial expressions, I was definitely bullied. So it took me a long time to overcome that difference. And it wasn't until I was in college, in my 20s, that I started to understand the punchlines and jokes, and I started to realize what different facial expressions mean. So I understand what it is like to be different from all different angles. I understand what it's like to be different personally in my own personal experience as a child. I understand what it's like to raise a different child and all the different levels of therapy that someone might have to go through. And I understand professionally what it is like to provide therapy for someone in need. So let me tell you what I enjoy doing when I am not doing speech therapy. I love going to the beach. I love walking along the shores of the ocean. When I'm at the beach, I always feel small, and I always feel so thankful because the ocean is so powerful. And when I'm there, it reminds me of what I'm committed to. I'm committed to a life of clarity. I'm committed to helping unique children be successful. And I want to provide unique children with their own triumphant voice. So now I'd like to give you 5 strategies for you to help you become empowered to win. First of all, you have to believe that you are the expert. You are the expert of your child. I was the only person who met my child in the first few seconds of his life. There was really nobody else who could say that other than me. The next thing you have to do is you have to believe in yourself. That is key. And you have to be confident in yourself. It's not the easiest thing to go into different IEP meetings. I attended special meetings for my child from the age of 18 months until 18 years old, and I started each meeting with the foundation of being confident in myself. But the other thing is you cannot be a know-it-all. You have to be calm and level-headed. That is most important. Your child will not be able to be successful if you have big difficulties between you and your child's teacher or your child's therapist. So to resolve those, what you need to do is ask questions. Why are we working on this? How can I recreate this same setting at home? What homework do we have? What do you think the next thing we should work on should be? Remember to ask questions. Questions are key, and questions help you feel as though you are part of your child's team. Actually, you are the head of the team, and questions help you collaborate with your child's team members. So now, I'd like to offer you a free gift. And you can receive this gift by texting the word POWER to 267-873-4848. So again, please, to receive your free gift, text the word POWER to 267-873-4848. That's 267-873-4848 to receive your free gift. Now I want to give you 5 winning strategies to help your child be triumphant. So first of all, if you're not happy with the way things are going, it's important to change the trajectory. So what does that mean? Well, that can mean a variety of the things. It can mean that you might need to schedule a team meeting. It might mean you need to have a conversation with an individual team member. But let me tell you what else it could mean. It could mean that you need to get a deeper understanding of why someone is working on a specific goal. It could mean you need a new person on the team. However, keep in mind that the team that your child has may not be able to change right away. There may not be another speech therapist or occupational therapist or teacher that's available in that moment to become part of your child's team. So the best thing to do is to resolve your differences with those team members and work with the team that you have until there's a natural change, until there's a change in grade or a change from the regular school system from September to June, and you go to a summer program. Wait for a natural change to occur. The next thing you need to do is to create a roadmap to recovery. So when you are chatting with your child's therapist or teacher or entire IEP team, you not only want to know what's happening now, but you want to know what's going to happen next. You need a clear roadmap of recovery and not just working in the moment. You want to know what the future holds. The next strategy is to stop the moving train. I can remember when my children were younger, they were just 27 months apart, when they were both in elementary school. The moving train started in September and went straight until June. I was constantly making lunches every night and going through backpacks and signing papers and ordering books from the book club. I needed to come up for air. So it's important to stop the moving train, check in with yourself, check in with your child, make sure that everything is going smoothly and not just stay on that train to the end of the school year. The next step is to maintain your emotional stability. It can be very, very stressful to go into a meeting where you're not really sure what those professionals are saying about your child. It can be very, very stressful when you first get that diagnosis, when you discover that your child is different from other children. So it's important to maintain your emotional stability. Stay calm throughout the entire process. And then the last tip is partner and practice. You really want to partner with your child's therapist or teachers. And you also want to practice whatever skills they're working on at school or in therapy. It's not enough for your child to just get those services in therapy or at school, because they're not there all the time, but they are there with you and they will be with you for a number of years. So it's important to practice at home whatever skills your child is learning in therapy or in their special classes. So now I have a special invitation for you. I'm introducing the Triumph Academy for Children. You may be asking yourself, will this work? Absolutely it will. So what's the next step, you might be wondering? So now it's time to join the winning team. That's the next step. So please head on over to www.triumphacademyforchildren.com. Is there an investment? Well, yes, of course there is. So here's what you'll get. So Module 1 will help you with your child's development, and you'll be able to understand the principles of development as a parent. For Module 2, you'll get the support that you need to help you navigate through your child's assessments and their tests and evaluations, and to better understand all of those special education acronyms that educators use all the time. For Module 3, this module will help you get on the same page as your child's teacher or your child's therapists. And for Module 4, you will get help maintaining the skills that your child is learning and sustaining those skills so there's no regression as your child moves forward in their therapy sessions. But wait, there's more. For those who act fast, there is a bonus. For $997, you will get a one-day Empowered to Win workshop. For the value of $506, you will be able to participate in the Balancing Act for Parents program. And for the first 10 people, you will get a private one-on-one coaching session with me, which is valued at $497. So here's what you get. You get the Triumph Academy for Children for $4,997. You get Empowered to Win workshop for $997 value. You get the Balancing Act for Children, Balancing Act for Parents program for $506, and you get a private one-on-one coaching session with me, which is valued at $497 for a total of $6,997. So here's the special offer. For the first 10 people, the cost is $997. So you can do this the hard way, or you can do this the easy way. So here are my final thoughts. Today, my son is 19 years old. He attends college. He actually got a partial scholarship to college. He graduated from high school on time. He attended his prom. He knows how to drive now. And he even has a part-time job. He spent some time living on campus with his friends. And I am certain that he is this successful today because of the way I partnered with his teachers and therapists throughout the 17 years that he received speech therapy, occupational therapy, and special education. So I will invite you to head on over to the triumphacademyforchildren.com, and please don't forget to text the word POWER to 267-873-4848 to receive your free gift. Thank you for joining me today.